Hello and welcome to Awesome Bros. And this week, yes, I'm gonna be sharing some tips to you guys on how to properly smuggle or travel with beer. So let's dive into this. Dive? Should we dive? Why do I always say dive? We're not a swimming pool.
For an open window on the crowded world, Max and Chris from Ups and welcome to Ups and Bros. Yeah.
Alright, so this week I'll be sharing with you guys some tips on how to properly travel with beer. So you visited your location, you had a blast during the whole time, and you visited breweries, you bought some awesome bottles and cans, and you want to bring those back home. So I got a few advice for you guys. But first, we need to crack open a beer, and I just got back from Italy. I got this beer from Ritual Lab right here. I don't see if you guys can see the logo. In collaboration with North Brewing Company, it's a mango strawberry sour. It's a mango strawberry sour called. Do I have the name? So it's part of their collaboration series. Been recommended to me by the good guys at the Johnny Off License right there in Rome. So without further ado, let's crack open this one. Yeah, look at that. All right, so the first step, inform yourself. Every customs, every country has different laws regarding the import of beers. So of course, we're not talking like huge imports, just regular imports as personal consumption. So for example, here in Canada, we're limited to 24 beers, averaging 355 milliliters to come back with in our luggage. It differs. Wine, it's different. It's 1.5 liter. For beer, we're allowed a 2.4. So yes, of course, I won't show you guys how to smuggle 24 cans or beers in your luggage, but I want you guys to know that there's websites, there's resources out there to let you know and just stay informed and get to know what you're allowed to bring back because it's the law. Tip number 2, this is the big thing, the big part of the thing. The big part of the thing. I'm repeating myself a lot on this one, but pack smart. So what I'm talking about packing smart is just make sure you protect those bottles or those cans. So like a few good ways to pack those things. Make sure you get empty your whole luggage. I know it could look weird, but just do it and repack it the right way. So I always start with a nice bottom of thick clothes in the bottom because usually, yes, the underside of your luggage is a little bit harder, but this is where your beer can hit and break. So make a good bottom on your luggage. Then center yourself right in the middle of the luggage. That's where you're gonna put your bottles. I really recommend using a plastic bag. This is just in case you get a leak from a bottle. So let's say a bottle cap that's been shaken a little bit and that's not properly capped, then it could leak a little bit. If it breaks, it breaks. But so far in all my trips, knock on wood, I haven't had any issues. A really cool tip, I always use socks or underwear to wrap up my beers. So no worries, no impact on the flavors. You can use dirty ones or clean ones, depending on your preference. But it really helps protecting the beer. So one thing I do always like to point out is the way you pack those beers. So one's going to be upside down like this, and the other one like this. So this way, they can stick together without having to rub off or knock together. So that's what you want to go for. Then, wrapping up every single beer. So you've done that. It's in the bag, it's ready to go, it's right in the middle. Fill up the rest of your luggage, but be smart. Wrap up all the way around with thicker clothes to make sure the beer doesn't move around when it's in your luggage and it's everywhere in the airport and making its way back home. So using thicker clothes to go around, towels, sweatshirts are really good for that, just to protect those babies before they come back home. And then by centering all that, you make sure that it doesn't move around and knock itself on the corners of your luggage. I always do pack really tight, but keep in mind also that there's weight limits that aircraft carriers put out. So be aware, if you left with a really tight luggage and you don't have a lot of room, then you might not bring a lot of beers. For me, I always leave a lot of room so I can bring more beers. Really tight, but also respect the aircraft carriers kind of like laws or rules about that. Some aircraft carriers will also offer you an extra fees if you go overweight, but sometimes it ranges from really higher price, and that's not what you really want because you already paid for those beers, right? Third tip. You had a fantastic flight. Now you're back home and you're going through customs. Be honest. So I really recommend when you do buy those beers outside of the country, keep the receipts. The receipts, so or the invoice or whatever, just so you have a proof of purchase. Why? Because some customs will ask you how much money you spent, and just to back up what you're about to tell the customs and to make sure you tell the truth, then be 100% honest, showcase how much you paid for your beer and how many beers you're bringing back. If you even have the format of the beer, if it's a bottle or a can, it really does help. And being honest will just make everything a lot easier for you, and will make your trip a lot more enjoyable. And I know sometimes they could be a little bit more like every time, but you know, they're a guy at the customs. That's what they do, right? So also keep in mind that some custom differs, and researching ahead of what of the country you're visiting will help you not being stuck throwing out some beers or losing some of what you wanted to bring back home. So what kind of tips do you have for traveling with beer? Do I missed out on something, and do you have something to share with us at Ops and Bros? In the comment down below, just let us know what are your tips about traveling with beer. So I hope you guys enjoyed those little tips. I wish you plenty of really good beer trips, and if you enjoyed those little tips and trips and all that stuff, then leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you guys in the next video. Cheers. Gonna finish this fantastic beer.